A two-day EU summit is kicking off today in Portugal. The aim of the talks is to repair some of the damage that COVID-19 has caused across the Union. With more details on that, we're joined now by Dave Keating from Brussels. Dave, can you give us some more details on what is going to be discussed over the next 2 days in Porto about trying to repair damage on the social front over the past year due to COVID?
Well, this is an informal summit, which just means that they can't adopt formal conclusions. These types of summits are always held by the country that holds the rotating 6-month presidency, and that's Portugal at the moment. They've chosen to make this a social summit. The last time we had one of these was 3 years ago when Sweden held the presidency, and so much has changed since then. Obviously, most notably, the pandemic. I mean, things have been done and things are possible now at the EU level that were unthinkable 3 years ago. We have a recovery plan now adopted, which will mutualize EU debt. We have a massive amount of public spending ready to go, and the question is, how is that spending going to be spent so that it helps the economic recovery from the pandemic? And there's a lot of different opinions about that. Certainly, we're going to see some familiar disputes between the more free market-oriented economies and the more welfare-oriented economies at this summit. But what's clear is that the wind is at the back of the social welfare state countries. The EU is now really going in that direction in response to the pandemic. The EU is not alone in that. Things are now possible in UK and the US that would have also been inconceivable 3 years ago. And the question is, how are they going to channel that? That's what they're going to discuss today. But there are new opportunities available now, not least of which the other big thing that's changed in the past 3 years is Brexit. The UK was always the most skeptical member state about the welfare state model, and with the UK's vote gone, a lot more is possible. So it'll be interesting to see what type of conclusions, informal conclusions, they come out with today.
OK, and vaccines will also very much be front and centre of discussions. Dave, there's the whole issue of patents, the US suggestion of lifting those patents, some opposition from Germany on that. Then there's going to be a discussion with Prime Minister Modi of India as well on the issue of vaccines. Tell us more about how vaccines are going to feature.
Yeah, this is the very immediate topic of conversation because, of course, yesterday Commission President Ursula von der Leyen followed U.S. President Joe Biden by saying that the EU will be willing to change its stance at the World Trade Organization and be open to opening the patents for the COVID vaccine so that anybody could make them. But she was kind of speaking out of turn there because while the Commission does negotiate on behalf of all EU member states at the WTO, it first needs to get a negotiating mandate. And it doesn't have that, nor does it look like it's going to get that. We've had several governments with close ties to pharmaceutical industry, like Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, express displeasure at this idea. Germany very strongly came out against this idea yesterday. So I think there's going to be some tense talks about this today because you have other leaders, notably Mario Draghi in Italy, who's really pushing for this. All of the countries without big pharma presence in their territory seem to like this idea, and the companies that have big pharma, the countries that have big pharma presence don't like it. So this will be one area of dispute. And then the other thing that they need to talk about is the reopening. In terms of vaccination, things are going pretty well across the EU right now. The pace of vaccination has picked up enormously. So that's not so much of an acute problem anymore. The problem is now coordinating the reopening. They're going to want to talk about the so-called EU vaccine passport that's supposed to be ready as of June 1st. They still need to come to an agreement with the European Parliament about what that legislation will look like. And they'll also need to discuss the proposal from the European Commission to end the EU's COVID entry ban as of June 1st and start allowing in non-EU citizens who can prove that they've been vaccinated. So there's a lot on the agenda in terms of COVID and travel today, but it is largely going to be focused on both reopening and getting vaccines out to the hardest hit countries, particularly India. They will be having a discussion with the Indian Prime Minister Modi by video about the really rapidly deteriorating situation there and what the EU can do to help. So they'll be looking at now the next phase of vaccinations now that the pace is at a pretty good level here in the EU. They're going to be looking to really get COVAX up and running and to look at reopening.
Okay,
really
Dave,
turning a page.
We'll have to leave it there.
Thank you
so much for that analysis of that two-day summit in Porto.